For nearly 50 years, Victor Manuel Rocha shaped American foreign policy at the highest levels. He served as a U.S. diplomat, an ambassador, and a director on the National Security Council. He was also, for that entire half-century, a spy for the Cuban government. He had company in Washington. At the Pentagon, Ana Belén Montes was the Defense Intelligence Agency's top analyst on Cuba. She held a top-secret clearance and routinely passed counterintelligence polygraphs, all while actively leaking sensitive U.S. military secrets directly to Havana. What baffled U.S. counterintelligence agents about operatives like Rocha and Montes was the total absence of a financial motive. Neither spy received major payouts or lived lavish lifestyles funded by foreign adversaries. During the Cold War, the standard geopolitical assumption was that Havana was entirely dependent on Moscow, that its intelligence agency was merely a minor subordinate branch of the Soviet KGB. That assumption was wrong. Cuba built a highly elite, fiercely independent espionage empire. By deploying operatives who easily blended into American academic and political circles, they routinely outspied the KGB inside the United States. Their success relied on a specific vulnerability. By weaponizing pure ideology instead of financial greed, Cuba cultivated a network of true believers. These assets bypassed the standard financial paper trails that typically exist at elite American universities. They sought out impressionable, left-leaning students, initiating a grooming process years before those students ever acquired government access. The recruiters looked for a specific psychological profile, individuals driven by a deep sense of moral righteousness. This intrinsic motivation produced assets who were exceptionally disciplined, patient, and intensely loyal. Fidel Castro deliberately engineered the ideology that attracted them. He recognized that the rigid, class-focused orthodoxy of Soviet communism held little appeal for young Western radicals, and he offered them an alternative. In 1966, Havana hosted the Tri-Continental Conference. This gathering brought together delegates from over 80 countries and served as the official launchpad for Castro's bespoke revolutionary doctrine. This doctrine, known as Third Worldism, reframed the global struggle. It shifted the focus away from a battle between factory workers and owners, presenting it instead as a civilizational conflict, pitting colonized nations and oppressed minorities against Western imperialism. By decentralizing Marxism and directly linking domestic racial grievances in the United States with global anti-colonial movements, Cuba crafted a highly effective ideological virus. It was perfectly calibrated to turn American citizens against their own government. This ideology was not confined to covert espionage. Havana actively exported it to build, fund, and train proxy insurgencies across the hemisphere. The results were highly visible in Latin America. In Nicaragua, the Sandinista revolution succeeded precisely because insurgents, armed and trained by the Cuban apparatus, were able to overthrow the government and seize control of the state. The export of this revolution crossed directly into the United States. Domestic militant groups like the Weather Underground and the Black Panther Party drew inspiration, tactical training, and sometimes literal safe harbor from the Cuban regime. Decades later, this strategy evolved into the institutional capture of sovereign states. Under Hugo Chavez, Venezuela opened its doors to tens of thousands of Cuban personnel, effectively trading its massive oil wealth for Cuba's intelligence and security infrastructure. These three elements, a bespoke anti-Western ideology, expansive proxy armies, and deep cover espionage, interlocked seamlessly. They formed a self-sustaining engine of asymmetric warfare directed squarely at the United States. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, the general assumption in Washington was that Cuban communism would fade away alongside its primary benefactor. The Soviet system died, but Cuba's intelligence networks and ideological appeal survived the end of the Cold War completely intact. Today, Havana operates as a massive intelligence broker. The highly classified secrets stolen by their American true believers are systematically funneled to modern adversaries, including China, Russia, and Iran. The human and strategic costs of this infiltration are severe. Information leaked by assets like Ana Montes exposed a multi-billion-dollar U.S. military satellite program and revealed covert positions that directly contributed to the deaths of American military personnel in Latin America. Cuba's six-decade covert war proves that in asymmetric conflicts, sheer military scale is rarely the deciding factor. A compelling, radical ideology is the ultimate weapon of mass disruption, one uniquely capable of weaponizing a superpower's own citizens against it.